the Unit 7 seminar, Grade 9 Unit 7 seminar on relationships. Now this is not a very difficult unit, however there are lots of terminology and formulas and names, definitions that I want to introduce you to. So I would like you to take detailed notes because whatever we do today, where it's going to get more complicated as the months go by and we build on these concepts. So first, very simple, we call this the Cartesian plane, where x-axis is our horizontal axis, the y-axis is the vertical axis, and whenever you're asked to plot, do something as simple as plotting points, your x coordinate is always first, where you're either moving left or right. Left if it's negative, right if it's positive. Up or down with your y point. Up is positive, down is negative. Very simple stuff, but you cannot mix, even in grade 10, Unit 1 tests. I always see kids mixing up their x and y points when they have to do something as simple as plotting on the Cartesian plane. So please make sure you know this 100% and you're never going to mix it up in the future. Okay, now this is the main information that I really want you to copy down. All lines have the same general relationship.
Please note the interruption.
Okay, so y is equal to mx plus b is the general equation of a line. And this is the equation that we are really going to be focusing on in the next couple of units. So when there is a linear relationship between your x and your y coordinates, where your first differences are the same, we will be using this equation, y is equal to mx plus b. And we can break this up into b, our y-intercept. This is the b term. And our slope, which is represented by the letter m, number in front of the x variable. The y-intercept, remember, is the point where the line crosses the y-axis. So that point will, when x is equal to 0, y is going to be equal to whatever your b value is. And the slope is the value that indicates the steepness of a line. So we're going to talk about different slopes in this unit guide and in the unit guides to follow. So for some of you, this is going to be just a repeat of some concepts you've learned in grade 8, but still I want you to have very complete and full definitions so there is no question and that you are all on the same page when you're doing your unit guide. The seminar activity that we are doing today is going to describe a linear relationship. Can I move on to the next slide, or are you guys still copying? Still copying? Okay. I'm going to give out some unit guides while. Are you guys section 8 or 9? 9. Is Janine in this class? Oh, yeah, Janine Palentino is not here. Emmanuel. Angie, Aaliyah, well, that's all yours, Angie. And that one. And this one. Someone's not picking up her unit guide. Andy, Drew's supposed to be in this class. Joshua. I know who my delinquent is. a manual. Oops. Thanks, son. I think that's it. Angie, is this yours again? Brianna. Hey, Joshua. Okay, let's move on to the next. Okay, so this is some information about the slope of a line that will really help you in your following units. So if the slope of a line is positive, the line is going to rise. From left to right, it's going to be increasing, rising. If the slope of the line is negative, the line will fall from left to right. So the bigger the value of m, the steeper the line will be. Very large values of m are going to be very, very steep. Small values of m are going to become flatter and flatter and flatter. So large values such as, if we're going to put these slopes in order, what is my largest, okay, if we ignore the negative signs, what would be the largest number here if we ignore negative signs? Yep, Allegra. Yes. So 5. And then the next largest number would be 2, because the positive or negative just represents whether it's increasing or decreasing. It doesn't represent the steepness. And then I would have -1, and then my fractions. Which would be bigger, 1/2 or 4/5? Yep. 1/2 would be bigger than 4/5. Yeah, so 1/2 would be the smallest. 4/5 would be the biggest. So this was the in order of steepness, if we forget increasing, but steepness, we would have the most steep line over here, and the most flat line would be my half slope, okay? And if you're going to copy out anything, it will be this part. The bigger the value of m, the steeper the line will be. That's an important rule that you should stick in your brain even when you move on to grade 10. Very important. All this stuff that we're actually doing today is part of my grade 10 unit 1 seminar. So these concepts are going to keep emerging, coming up over and over again, and these rules are not going to change. What is going to be important is if you remember these rules or not when you start grade 10. Let's just make sure none of your units are in the other grade 9 class. Catherine is not in here, Potenziano. Benjamin is not, Bianca. Daniel. Okay, go on to the next one. So the slope, like we saw in the last example, the slope with a fraction or very small numbers will represent a flat line, a slope that's not steep. Slopes with large numbers represent steep lines. That's a continuation of our rule. Now, what a lot of students have difficulty with, the steepness is not a problem, but what happens if you have slopes that are vertical lines, completely vertical, or when you have horizontal lines? So something that you should really just memorize is when you have a vertical line, the slope is undefined because your x-coordinates do not change. If you have a horizontal line, the slope is going to be 0. And this is because as we move along the line, the y-coordinates do not change. Now, can someone tell me what is the equation of the slope of a line? Does anyone remember what's the equation of the slope of a line? If I want to add something here about calculating